baton.
This is the Coast Business Radio Podcast.
Cheryl Ng is the managing editor of the Epoch Times in Hong Kong and has been with the Epoch Times since 2002 when the Hong Kong Bureau was established. It's one of the largest independent Chinese language news media groups in the world, covering 21 languages and 33 countries. Cheryl, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
You had a situation last year where the newspaper was withdrawn from 7-Eleven stores throughout Hong Kong. Tell us about this.
We started in Hong Kong as a free newspaper. So last year we had the chance, changing from a free newspaper to a paid one, and so we chose 7-Eleven to launch our newspaper, and it started in April 1st. But like few months down the road, they all of a sudden using unreasonable reason to stop, to take us off the shelf.
Do you think this was because of the China ruling party?
Definitely. Ever since we were established in Hong Kong, we've been meeting with all the challenges came from the suppressions from the CCP. It was done in a subtle way. They always give you, say, it's a business decision. Say, for example, when we changed from weekly to daily in 2005, they said we had a printing shop who print the paper for us, but then they pressed the printing shop and stopped printing paper for us. So at the end, of course, we have very difficult time finding another printing shop to print for us. So eventually we had our printing shop later, a year later. So but of course, when we talked to the printing shop, they refused to tell us anything, any pressure from the CCP. They only said it's a business decision.
It's ominous times in Hong Kong. China's controversial national security laws for Hong Kong have been called a killer blow to the city's autonomy and freedoms.
Right. As our legislator, Dennis Kwok, said, it's the end of one country, two system officially.
Tell us what this means in practical terms for Hong Kong.
I think when the one country, two system promise to Hong Kong was done, the Hong Kong people was hoping that they can continue their way of life. I think the Hong Kong situation is very much like a civilized city in Asia. We enjoy everything that the Western world treasure. So that's why they have the two system. So we don't want to go back to the tyranny system in China. So we want to maintain what we used to have when the British was ruling. So when they enact this, or they just pass this resolution, in China of the national security law, it basically it's the ending of the free lifestyle that we have. And I think the most important thing is the core values. All these years, Hong Kong people has been fighting to defend our core values, because it's the core values that we treasure that is in work that we can maintain the systems. So it's meaning the core values that we treasured is now trashed.
And this obviously is something that most people are scared of too, these new national security laws.
I think it's not so much. We've been through the situation, similar situation in 1997, when the handover happened. Before the handover, you can see the wave of immigration, migration to overseas countries. But I think this round, especially after this movement in last year, the Hong Kong people has a little bit think a little bit differently this time, because of course there's still migration wave. People were moving to other countries, but some people in Hong Kong also decide that yes, we love this place. We'll defend it to the very end of it.
What's the mood throughout the various communities in Hong Kong today? Local politicians, legal and professional class, the business groups. How is it?
I think even in last year, Hong Kongers realized that we cannot fight the battle on our own. We need the help from international society, because I think a critic just said, Luda, the critics, just said Hong Kong is nowadays Jerusalem. So it's where we preserve a core values that the world treasures. And if we lose Hong Kong, we lose everything. The world lose too. Because as you see the pandemic, how the CCP handles the pandemics, so it's targeting everyone. It's targeting America, the superpower that is of equals, not equal strength, but it's the major player in today's world. So you see, like what we are, I think we're still expecting like help from international society, and things is not quite firmed at the moment. You see, we'll wait and see. But of course, like we know that the America is probably going to announce their moves on like over the weekend.
It's where business does business, and it's worked for years and years and years. Why would the CCP jeopardize all that?
I think, first of all, the mentality of the CCP is very different from the rest of the world. Of course, like it's our wishful thinking that like they also treasure the economy, the growth, and flourish with everyone. But in their mindset, they want absolute control of power. So they're not just aiming at Hong Kong, they're aiming at the whole world. They want an absolute control on the whole world. So Hong Kong is fighting at the frontier right now. So why they target Hong Kong? First of all, Hong Kong is I can say like a stage where this American versus China CCP is taking place. It's a manifestation of the conflicts. It becomes a battlefield, and because the Hong Kong people, the CCP found that they cannot control the Hong Kong people, and the Hong Kong people is connect with the international society. So they want to sacrifice Hong Kong in that sense to gain control of Hong Kong, so that there is one less or one major uncertainty removed for them. And they are believe me, they are struggling to survive, the CCP in China, especially after the pandemic, when they have caused such a life loss in the world and economic loss, and everyone is going after them. So they want to, at least in their emotions, they feel they want to be secured, that they control everything now. So Hong Kong is one great uncertainty for them. So they, even at the cost of economic loss, but of course, like they think that they can still use Hong Kong as a hub to generate money for them. But don't forget that Hong Kong enjoys the present status is because, say for example, the Hong Kong Policy Act. Americans, it's giving Hong Kong preferential treatments, and recognize Hong Kong as a financial hub. But if America withdraw that, they probably cannot use Hong Kong to generate the economic benefits that they would love to see, and they're struggling in their economy as well.
What about major enterprises throughout Hong Kong, or the major companies from the world? A lot of those are headquartered in Hong Kong. How do you feel that they feel about this whole scenario just unraveling?
Of course, like I'm with these. If this law is eventually taken place, the business environment would be very different in Hong Kong. Also, although they said like it will remain the same, but looking at they have this law that takes effect where they restrict on like the number of people gathered in public. They actually use this law to suppress the dissidents. So they can use the law in any way, and they like to target anyone. So of course business will not be as usual, and they can feel the pinch maybe very soon if it actually takes place. But of course, there's still uncertainty of how this thing will turn, though.
The laws aimed at curbing foreign interference. Which groups are most likely to be targeted, and how will your media be affected?
I think people would automatically think about Falun Gong in Hong Kong because it's being suppressed in China. But of course, if you think further, it's the media, say Epoch Times, Apple Daily, who would not who would report the true news, right? And then the dissidents, people who do not agree, the NGO, people are fighting, for democracies in Hong Kong, and basically, eventually, everyone will be touched if we don't defend ourselves.
Carrie Lam, is she a figure of much disrespect? And do people believe what she is saying, that only a small number of people will be affected by the law?
Of course, people are very disappointed, with Carrie Lam. And of course, there's a lot of very angry people, of what she's done to Hong Kong. People feel that she has failed Hong Kong people in defending our rights when she's facing the Beijing Bureau. When she said, it's only a small number of people who will be affected, she is saying what the CCP is saying. It's a carrot and stick tactics that the CCP has used. They always said that they are trying to target only a small portion of people, and we if you've read the 9 commentaries we've published in 2004, which is about the true nature of the CCP, this is always the 5%, 95% versus the 5%. So they would define the 5%, and people will feel that, I'm safe. I don't fall into the 5% category. I'll never fit that category. But don't forget that the CCP can make anyone become the 5% category, whatever in the way they like. So no one is safe at the end. So she is lying. She's lying for the CCP, and we also feel that the Hong Kong officers, including Carrie Lam, is talking more and more in the party language, we say.
How do you see it impacting on economic activity, property prices, population movement, business confidence? And just on the subject of population movement, will you be able to leave Hong Kong if once the CCP puts its foot down even more heavily than it is now? What do you do?
It's not clear yet. But of course, when the first round happened in 1997, I think there's a lot of the Hong Kongers that's having a foreign passport. So these people, it's probably no problem when they leave, if they want to leave Hong Kong. I think if worse come to worse, then the people in Hong Kong would have a hard time to leave Hong Kong. They have to apply, for immigration, the application to other countries. But I think the difficulty would be similar to the ones who are in mainland China right nowadays. I don't see but I don't want to make a very definite prediction on this, because I just feel that it's a lot of things. It's still really depending on what the American is taking, the actions that the Americans are taking, and we don't know. Maybe it can cause the downfall of the CCP because it's already in a very fragile situation. And I think it seems like they are very definite in their actions, but what I see is an action that similar to people who are struggling for life and death.
You were with the Epoch Times in Hong Kong, 2002, 18 years ago. How has the essence or the soul of Hong Kong changed in those 18 years?
It's definitely getting worse and worse. At the first few years after the handover, I would say lifestyle is pretty much similar. Although, as working for Epoch Times and being Epoch Times in Hong Kong, we always feel the suppression. But it seems like other sectors of the community is still running pretty okay. But then you can see it's escalating. It's getting worse and worse. And now it has come to a really boiling point, I would say. The CCP, first they play by the rules, and, they try to fill into that, try to say, keep the promise. But now they don't really give a damn. They don't care about this anymore. They just want to do what they do. And you can see the eagerness in themselves. like meaning that they are very weak.
It's almost like a bully boy, isn't it? The bully in the schoolyard, and we'll beat our chest, and you'll jump to our every whim. I can't really see the fight against the might of the CCP. I can't see it winning unless you have support from the other countries, such as US, Australia, Europe, all the others. They need to pitch in and say to China, you cannot do that.
That's true, because I mean, at the surface, it's like the Hong Kong people is defending for themselves, for their rights. But as I said before, we are defending for a core values that the world treasure. And it's very, actually Hong Kong is a very precious place for the world, because the mentality in Hong Kong, the standards in Hong Kong is like such a city doesn't build in one day. It took years to build. So it can see like this is a precious frontier for the world to face the CCP. And as you see that the CCP's, like I said, the CCP's ambition is not in Hong Kong, it's the world. It's targeting the world.
As with the South China Sea, with Taiwan, with India, they've become a lot more aggressive of late. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
This is the Coast Business Radio Podcast.